The restoration of the Church of the Nativity of Our Lady in Moscow Oblast. The Church of the Nativity of Our Lady in Med Pustyn, which means hermitage, it's a small village in Moscow Oblast. The name of the place indicates that it was situated in a deserted wilderness where the bears must be quite common. Or it might mean that the hermit who lived there had a difficult character. The Pustyn was founded in 1360 by Reverend Mefody Pishnorsky, who had built the first small wooden church and lived there to obtain maximum isolation. The brick church of the Nativity of the Virgin was erected in 1555 and was sponsored by Tsar Ivan the Terrible, who visited the place in 1553 after severe sickness on the way to a distant northern Kirilo-Belzerski monastery. This is a typical example of one-headed, four-pillar church that was common for northern architecture in 15th and 16th centuries. A belfry soon was erected nearby. The original image of the church had changed in 19th centuries. Complex original roofing, позакомарное покрытие, with 3 rows of 3 arches on each facade, decorated the base of the drum and the head. It was replaced by a more simple one that was easier to maintain. Small outer windows were widened. Soon, one more wooden church appeared. It was smaller and easier to provide heating in long winters. Its dimensions in plan are almost rectangular. Each facade is about 16.5 meters. Thickness of the walls varies from 152 to 185 centimeters. Height, 19.5 meters. In 1937, Pustyn was closed, robbed, and stood neglected until in 1975, when first research of its structures and measures were done for the first time. No money could be found even for minimal conservation works. In 1993, the drum with the head suddenly collapsed, and only during 1996 to 2003 restoration works took place. The main reasons of the collapse were, first and foremost, total neglect of the church for more than 70 years. The load from the drum and the head was distributed unevenly. In the contact with 4 bearing arches, it touched them only in 1/3 of the arch's width, so the arches worked less effectively than they should. It means that the upper parts of the arches were overstrained under the weight of the drum and cupola. The so-called sails, the upper space between the bearing arches, were clad in horizontal brick layers, making them work like a console, which is much less effective than the arched brickwork. Original tie frames in 2 levels were made from thick timber beams. Part of them were placed inside the brick walls and were connected with the aerial ties by notches. They linked walls and pillars in 2 dimensions. It was a common practice to make the whole structure more stable until the masonry laid on the lime mortar will receive necessary strength, which took several years depending on the thickness of the walls. After wooden beams became rotten inside the walls, they stopped working as links or joints, and all horizontal thrust was taken by massive thick walls. Still, some vertical cracks appeared in the walls. In the middle of the facades, weakened by windows and doors sections. In the 19th century, some reinforcing works was done in the church. The lower level aerial ties links were repeated in steel bars fixed directly into the walls. The higher level ties remained out of service, although the effectiveness of them could be more even the lower level. And the crucial reason for the fall of the drum was the poor condition of the roof, especially at the contact with the vertical wall of the drum. It caused regular leaks, and as the result of the destruction of brickwork of the overstrained part of the load-bearing arches. When the vertical load overcame the reserve of the arch's brickwork strength, the collapse had happened. Here you can see how it looked soon after the collapse of the drum cupola bearing arches and part of the walls. This is the upper part of the remaining wall. You can see the bases of all the decorative arches, the rows of 3 arches on each wall. Here it is. The first part of works was to remove a huge amount of debris from the fallen structures. Whole and half bricks were thoroughly selected and stored for future use. The restoration works consisted of the following. Restoration of the walls weakened by the through cracks in the walls. It consisted of repairing the major cracks with injecting all cracks with reinforcing by fiberglass rods to compensate the lack of bonds between separated parts of the wall. Each rod crossed the crack at a certain angle and was fixed by hydraulic lime mix. Installing reinforced concrete in-walls bonds in voids from former timber bonds. They were linked with air ties, which formerly were also wooden but fell down after in-wall timber got rot. Restoring the 19th century metal bonds on the first tier, which were damaged during the fall of the upper structures. Restoring crushed walls and arches. Installing reinforced concrete circular base of the drum. Restoring the drum and the head cupola. Restoring 19th century pitched roof. Repairing brickwork with changing the missing ones with the new bricks of the same size. Minor erosion of the brick surface were repaired with special colored vapor permeable composition. This is the timbering for the restoration of one of the arches. Here you can see a reinforcement cage for the concrete in-wall tie. All of them were connected with aerial ties. This is the view of concrete aerial tie of the same dimensions and on the exact place where original timber beams were placed. Here is the process of restoring the drum and cupola structures. This is the view of the restored upper part of the church. After painting the facades, the church was given to a local parish. That's all, thank you.